Check is 3:17 p.m. on this magnificent Monday. Yes, indeed. Thank you very much to Dennis, for holding it down on hard facts. An amazing job she did, and it's wonderful to have wonderful people to ensure that the wheels are turning, the ball is rolling. Yes, indeed, and I'm certain that you had a great time on the show. And it's good to be back. Scarcity brings value. While I was away, I'm glad I was away. I had important things to attend to, but there was a part of me that missed the show, and I needed to be away to appreciate in its true fullness the essence of hard facts. So it's great to be here. Will I get tired of it again? Yes, that's going to happen, and I will miss it again in the future. It's a cycle. It's an oscillation, a never-ending madness. But here we are. I've returned with renewed vigor. I'm excited to be here, desperately waiting to take the conversations on hard facts today, and I'm hoping you feel the same way. As always, we start with the big stories. Controversy trails the Senate's commitment to electronic transmission of votes. It's the biggest story in the country. The National Assembly is getting flack from Nigerians because it seems they want to block the transmission of votes electronically, and Nigerians are not having it. The Senate President had a few things to say. There seems to be what might eventually manifest to a protest. Lots of people are saying lots of things, and we right here give you all the facts. The FCT Minister Wike says Rivers can deliver votes for the president without the governor. In other words, if you look at it and think about it, Fubara is not necessary in the scheme of political things. Those are not the words he chose, but that's the point he made. And the APC Chairman, National, explains why the Rivers State governor has not been officially welcomed to the party. These headlines make the big stories. At 4 o'clock, we'll be talking about IPOB claiming that it has cancelled permanently the Monday sit at home in the southeastern part of the country. I'll have somebody who is what I would call a stakeholder in southeastern affairs join me to talk about the implications, the impact, and very likely the future. And at 5, we'll talk power. Not all electricity meters are free. This is according to NEC. We'll be talking about your power situation, and if you have a prepaid meter, did you pay for it or did you get it for free? These conversations make up the show. 6 brings the major news. After that, it's open season. As always, stay with me. Sam Chinedu here. As reactions continue to trail the Senate's position on electronic transmission of votes, the Senate President has offered an explanation. Speaking at a book launch in Abuja, Godswill Akpabio said the Senate did not stop electronic transmission of results. He said the only change they made was removing the words real time. According to him, real time means that in over 9 states where network is not working because of insecurity, there will be no election results. He also said the change was made to allow INEC to choose the best way to send results based on the situation on ground and security. He said the Senate will continue to make laws that help Nigerians and reflect what the people want. Let's hear the Senate President.
The Senate has not removed any means. If you want to use bicycle to carry your votes from one polling unit to the ward center, do so. If you want to use your phone to transmit, do so. If you want to use your iPad to do anything, do so. If you have network in your area, go ahead with transmission. But all we said during discussion was that we should move the word real time. Because if you say real time and there's network, what I may call grid failure, and then the network is not working, when you go to court, somebody will say it ought to have been real time. That was all we said.
Well, INEC, the Independent National Electoral Commission, is urging Nigerians to stay calm following the Senate's decision to reject the proposal for mandatory electronic transmission of results. INEC Chairman Professor Joash Amupitan gave the assurance on Saturday in Abuja while monitoring a mock accreditation exercise ahead of the February 21 area council elections in the FCT. It says the amendment process is still ongoing and requires agreement between both chambers of the National Assembly, adding that Nigerians should allow the process to run its course. Amupitan stressed that INEC remains committed to using technology to improve the credibility of elections, regardless of the Senate's decision.
National Assembly, they are still in the process. Conference will take place, isn't it? There are various agitations. So you need to understand the processes of making laws. And if one house has said something, the other is saying, and they have to meet, there's going to be a concurrence. There's going to be a conference where the whole issue will be harmonized. And then the process is explained.
All right. After the break, we explain that process. Stay with us. We've told you that the Senate, particularly the Senate President, has said that they are not looking to fight electronic transmission of results. He explained at a book launch in Abuja that the Senate did not stop the transmission. He said the only change made was removing the words real time because of our realities. That there are actual situations that may guarantee that the result is not transmitted in real time. Well, a chieftain of the African Democratic Congress, Kenneth Okonkwo, that's the ADC, by the way, has faulted the Senate President, Godswill Akpabio, over the Electoral Act Amendment Bill controversy and is calling for his removal. Okonkwo, in an interview, accused Senate President Godswill Akpabio of acting against democracy, alleging that he's supporting practices that encourage election rigging, manipulation, and falsification. He says maintaining such provisions go against the Supreme Court's position and described it as a move that undermines democracy. Let's hear from the former actor turned politician.
Made it clear that electronic transmission is compulsory. Why would the legislature prevaricate on an issue that the Supreme Court had told you that it encourages electoral rigging, manipulation, and makes you an enemy of democracy. What it means is that Senator Godswill Akpabio has become an enemy of democracy by trying to maintain the same provision that Supreme Court told you that if you do, you are an enemy of democracy. That man is an enemy of democracy and should be removed if he doesn't resign.
All right, whenever Kenneth Okonkwo speaks, it always seems like there is a battle to fight somewhere. Well, the former Minister of Sports and Youth, Solomon Dalong, faulted the Senate over the controversy. Speaking in an interview, Dalong said the Senate has no reputation and so it cannot give Nigerians a credible or fair election with integrity. Dalong, who's a member of the African Democratic Congress, believes the party has people who can defeat President Bola Tinubu in the 2027 presidential election. He says beating the president in the next year's polls requires a collective effort. And if we spend all our time taking reactions to what's happening in the country at this time by way of the Electoral Act, we would run out of time and ask for more time. But of course, let's break it down. Now, Akpabio says that they are not against the transmission. They are just considering the realities, which is that we usually have network problems in some parts of the north. Network is not as it should be. So let's remove real time, just in case there's a reason why we cannot transmit electronically, right? If that reason comes up, so that, the law is flexible. Now, on the surface, it sounds reasonable. I mean, if you think about it, it kind of sounds like that's a cool thing to say.
The Senate has not removed any means. If you want to use bicycle to carry your votes from one polling unit to the ward center, do so. If you want to use your phone to transmit, do so. If you want to use your iPad to do anything, do so. If you have network in your area, go ahead with transmission. But all we said during discussion was that we should move the word real time. Because if you say real time, and there is network, what I call grid failure, and then the network is not working, when you go to court, somebody will say it ought to have been real time. That was all we said.
Okay. So what he's saying is just have a plan B, right? Like I said, on the surface, it does sound reasonable. But unfortunately, it is unacceptable. Because it seems that the Senate... No, I would pin this on the Senate President, not the Senate. I don't want to claim that this is the position of the Senate. It seems that the Senate President is creating problems for every solution. If you say take out real time, you are taking out the fundamental reason why Nigerians want electronic transmission. Now, if you check, why should we transmit results electronically? There are a couple of factors. The first is speed. Results are sent instantly, reducing long delays that often create tension. The second is reducing human interference. It limits the manual handling of results, which is where the tampering happens. The third, transparency. The fourth, accuracy. The fifth, public confidence. All of these factors are connected to what you and I know as ASAP, as soon as possible. So if we are at the polling unit and as we vote, we have figures, it is transmitted immediately. It speaks to a more trustworthy system than coming later at night. They will not tell us that thing that we voted, everything collected from that unit was 2,500 votes. So electronic voting is here to remove the time factor that made it easy to rig. So if the Senate President now is saying that you should remove the real time, that means he's saying there is no need for the electronic voting. Because it was this time that led to all the previous elections suspected of irregularities, discrepancies, and everything. So if you are now saying, no, let's put it, but it doesn't have to be real time, then there's no need. Because it is the same system that we are running. Secondly, for the Senate President to be saying that there are communities that may not have network, it makes me wonder